What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, bringing you a profile for the brand new Starry Knights. Now these were previously known as Holy Knights and in the TCG have been changed to Starry Knights and they've come out in Ghost from the past. Now the deck is predominantly right now a massive control and stun deck. It does get a little bit of support as it goes further forward in the future and you can try and adapt it. I do have an alternative 10 card engine here as well that you can play if you want to be a little bit spicy and I've tried to kind of change it up from the norm that I've seen around with all of the Holy Knight or the Starry Knight decks to be a little bit different. But with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe. Do not miss out on any more upcoming content from the channel. Throughout this entire week and thereafter, we will be bringing you profiles all coming from Ghost from the past. So no matter what deck it is that you either gets 1 or 2 boosted cards or a brand new archetype like Starry Knights and Sun Avalons, we will profile it for you and then we will answer any questions you have in the comments below. With all of that out of the way, let's get straight into the Starry Knight deck list. So, you start off with Starry Knight, Starry Dragon. Going to be a lot of Starries. So, the one big downside of this deck is the deck basically needs you to have one of the Starry Knight monsters and a Starry Knight Dragon in the hand, or technically a level 7 Light Dragon in the hand. This is the best one, because if it is normal or specialed from the hand, you can target one card on the field and destroy it. It can't be destroyed by battle with a Dark Monster or by a Dark Monster's effect. Once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster until the end phase. Also, this card can make a second attack in a row. So the idea is, any cards that are like, can't be targeted, can't be destroyed, this card can get rid of it, and can get rid of 2 of them as well. So this is your main boss monster, this is your main core card. The whole strategy of this deck is to control your opponent, slow them down, and then bring out Starry Dragon, pop a card, return Starry Dragon to the hand, use another effect, bring it back down. So it's very important that it's an if effect is normal or special, and it's none of it is like once per turn. So if you can bounce this and summon it more than once, you're in a very good position. It's going to be very difficult to do that. You would need to have multiple copies, but if you do find yourself in that position, Starry Knight can put in a lot of work. Then we move on to the best Starry Knight monster, and that is Rael. So Rael, basically, when this card is normal summoned, you get to add a Starry Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand. This card should have said if it is normal or special. It really should have. It would have taken this deck up a notch. I'm not saying it would have made it tier 0, but it's the type of card, cards like this is what you need it to have. Now, when we get to spells and traps, you'll see how good the spells and traps are. One of them is actually nuts. The others are like kind of okay, but get you where you need to go. You can banish this card from the graveyard, then target one Starry Knight monster in your graveyard, except itself, and special summon it. So again, that is kind of nice, because keeping in mind the Starry Knight Dragon is a Starry Knight as well. But it's getting the card to the graveyard. It's not as easy to pretty much just go, okay, normal summon Rael, get a search, and then tribute it off. Or turn it into like a Almirage. You can play Starry Knights, which is the field spell, which gives you an additional normal summon of a Starry Knight monster. But again, because at the moment, until we get the brand new one in, I believe it's Lightning Overdrive, until we get that, there's only 3 Starry Knight monsters, 4 including the dragon. And you're not going to, as your additional normal summon, you're not going to try and normal summon this. So again, the field spell should have said, normal summon Starry Dragon without tribute, would have been great. But yeah, Rael, still very good. It is your core card. It's the one card you want to see. It's the one card you want to get to. I did look into combining it with counter fairies as well, but it's a little bit more difficult. It's also why I looked into using the Chaos Engine, because obviously the Chaos Engine can set up the graveyard effect. So then what you do is you end up using Rael plus one of the dragons to make a rank 4 or to make a link 2, and then the Rael can then banish to bring back whatever card is sent to the graveyard. So if you were to discard a dragon off of Chaos form, Chaos space, sorry, you would then get the same result. We've then got 2 Estelle. Now, the thing with Estelle is, again, quick effect, you can target one light monster you control, tribute it, and if you do, special summon one level 7 light dragon monster from your hand. Like, if you said a light dragon monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, broken. Now, I know, obviously, this can only trigger from the hand, which would then make this even better, or like more fair if it brings it from the deck, because then what you're doing is it then gives you more synergy for your trap card, which basically says return a light dragon from the field to the hand. So, to me, I think that's how you could improve this deck, or how this deck could have been made a little bit more playable. Regardless, you can banish this card from the graveyard, then target one level 7 light dragon monster you control. It gains 1000 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. Only use each effect once per turn. So obviously, again, the idea is that you're playing Tides of the Brethren. You ideally want to use Tides of the Brethren on Starry Night, because then Starry Night would assert you the spell that gets you the dragon. And then you bring out the barrier statue, bring out the Estelle, and then it means during your opponent's turn you've got Estelle to bounce into the dragon. The last one we play is pretty bad, but you kind of need to for the additional name. It's Starry Night Flamel. So when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send this card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard to special summon a light dragon monster from your hand. Quick effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard, then target one level 7 or one level 7 light dragon monster you control in your graveyard and return it to the hand. So it gives you a little bit of recurability, but again, the issue is the fact that you can special summon the dragon from the hand. I get it. I understand why you're doing that, but why? Like, let me special summon it from anywhere, and then let me trigger the other effects for more synergy to put it back into the hand, to then trigger an Estelle to get the effect off. Now, I like the artwork, I love the concept behind this deck, and it kind of reminds me of Tellers and Constellas, which is why I've built it. It is still fun, and it is still powerful, but it does have glaring weaknesses. For the last light monster, we do play the one Barrier Statue of Heavens. You can play Honest as well, because then what you can do is you can bring out Barrier Statues in attack, bring out Honest. Honest can then bounce back to the hand, and then this is never getting destroyed by battle because you'll drop an Honest on it. But again, the idea is you want to put this in defense, and then you want to be using the dragon to protect this being just run over in general, and using your spells and traps to again also protect the Barrier Statue. We've then got two Condemned Witches. Now, Condemned Witch is actually quite good in this deck, because what it can do is on the normal summon, again, quite like Rael, it is specifically on normal summon, but what it can do is it can normal summon itself to give you one of the quick plays. So that then gives you the ability of getting Forbidden Chalice or Forbidden Droplet, but during your opponent's turn you contribute it to special summon a level 4 fairy monster from your deck, except itself. Now again, this is where if Rael was a quick effect, or Rael was when normal or specialed, would have been so much better. So the only target you're really getting off of that is the Estelle, and the reason that I would probably, if you were going to do anything, you could cut Estelle down to 1 and play 3 Condemned Witch, or even play more Condemned Witches than Estelles, is because I'd actually rather normal summon a Condemned Witch than I would normal summon Estelle. For the hand traps, of course, we're playing the 3 generic of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, but then we're also playing triple Psyframe Gamma and the 1 Driver. Now, the reason these are also quite good, and it's more so in the Chaos version, is because they are lights, so you can discard them as light targets to get your dark targets from the deck. But again, also with this deck, you're playing part of Extravagance, spoiler, you're also playing Starry Night, Ceremony, and you're playing Balefire, which are all 3 spell cards that if your opponent tries to trigger anything, you can then Gamma and Driver them, which then gives you an Omega, or any level 8 Synchro that you want. These 4 spaces can be anything you want. They can also be Imperms, they can be Ghost Spells, they can be Veilers, they can be Ogres, entirely up to you. Moving on to the spells, I have decided to go with Pot of Extravagance over Prosperity. Now, Prosperity is a little bit more consistent because you get to look at the top 6 and you get to control what you banish. But the way I've kind of looked at this deck is it's all about maintaining a bit of hand resource as well. So I went with the Extravagance being a +1 over the Prosperity of being a general replacement, but if you do have Prosperities, they can be there instead of Extravagance. Obviously, the other reason that you would go with Prosperity over Extravagance is you can control your extra deck a lot more, which then means that you can actually dictate what you're going to go into, dictate what you're going to summon with, but ultimately you shouldn't need to worry about that. You're supposed to be using the dragon as your boss monster. That is then going to be able to clear the board, and then all your little ones are going to go in for attacks. That's where the deck kind of falls back a little bit more again, because it's not difficult to OTK, but it's not as easy to OTK either. Like, the dragon will clear boards off, but then the rest of your monsters aren't strong enough to get the game done. And that's where your extra deck does sometimes come into play. But keeping in mind that if you're keeping the Barrier Statue on board as well, the only time you can get rid of it is if you're going into lights from the extra deck yourself as well. Then we've got Triple Tides of the Brethren. Now, you'll probably resolve this once, and one should be enough, but you have the capability in the deck to resolve it twice. It's a good and a bad thing. Now, the reason it's good is because, of course, it gets you off of a Rael, it will then get you an Estelle, and, of course, it will get you a Barra statue, which is a nice kind of a soft lock. The biggest downside is, if your opponent knows you're playing this deck, they might actually hold the Ash Blossom off. So you've got a lot of cards that are kind of like, come on, Ash me, just do it, I dare you. So like the Rael, you've also got your Extravagance, you've got your Ceremony, you've got your Bellfire, all of them are basically saying to your opponent, Ash me. And then if they do that, and as long as you've got Tides of Brethren, you should be good to go from that point on. This is where the Chaos engine comes in, and I'll show you the 10 card engine at the end as well, as an alternative to the cards, and I'll show you what you can take out. Then we've got Starry Night Ceremony. I'd probably cut this down to 2, again, to be honest. It's searchable, it's a good card, but you don't really gain a lot. So during your main phase, you can reveal 1 Light Fairy monster in your hand. And if you do, add 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster from your deck to your hand. Then place that revealed monster on the bottom of the deck. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand. So, again, what's so good about this is it does pretty much give you the ability that if you don't get into an Estelle or a way of getting the dragon to the board, this counts as another way of doing so. It also gives you a guaranteed dragon if you've got a Light Fairy in the hand, but keep in mind that Light Fairy is going back to the bottom of the deck. You're not actually able to utilise it or use it. That also being said, we're not playing that many Light Fairy monsters, so the consistency of this card does start to slowly go down, which is why you could arguably put it at 2, giving you a bit more space to put in other hand traps or other disruptions, but it is a core card for the deck and quite important, so that's the dilemma between playing it at 2 and playing it at 3. Then the next card I absolutely love. I think this card's really, really good, and if you had it in any other deck, it'd be broken. But basically, add 1 Starry Night monster, or level 7 Light Dragon monster from your deck to your hand. Then if you control no monsters and your opponent controls a Dark monster, you can special summon 1 Light level 7 monster from your hand. So obviously this is quite nice because what this will allow you to do is if you're going second, you can activate Balefire and then special summon the dragon from your hand that you've just searched, and that will then pop one of your opponent's cards. Nice. But keep in mind, the Dark monsters that are being left on the boards now, unless you're going to drop a Dark Ruler no more or a Droplet on your opponent, you're still going to have a lot of work to do in order to get to the end result that you're looking for. It's great they add you a Starry Night or the Dragon, because then it's basically a free-off rota for your Starry Knights and, of course, the Dragon. So you've got a lot more consistency with this card. It is a hard once per turn. I think if it wasn't, it'd probably be a little bit too much. It works out really, really good. It's probably, in my opinion, I would say this and Rael. I would say Rael is the best card for the deck. This is the second best. And then the Dragon's third. Then for the one-offs, we've got the one Call by the Grave. You want to make sure that where at all possible, your Extravagance goes off, your Prosperity if you choose to play that, and of course your Tides of Brethren goes off. We've then got the 1 Starry Night Sky. I mean, again, this is a card you'd probably cut, to be honest. But during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Starry Night monster or 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster in addition to your normal summon or set. See, that's my issue there, is it will let you normal summon the dragon, which again is kind of fine, but why would I don't want to use my 2 tributes. It should have bypassed this. It should have said normal summon 1 Starry Night monster or 1 level 7 Light Dragon monster in addition to your normal 1 Light Dragon monster by tributing 1 Light Fairy. Because then that actually makes this more worth it. That then says, okay, you've got the fairy on the board, but maybe you've got a Rael and you haven't got the ability to get to a Stell, or you haven't got a ability to get to a card that will let you special out the dragon. This will allow you to do that. Obviously, you don't want to be dropping the dragon during your turn unless you're going second. So it's not really giving you a mass advantage, which is why, again, 1 is more than enough. You search it if you want it. If a face-up level 7 dragon monster you control returns to the hand, you draw 1 card. So chances are it's only going to return during your opponent's turn, so it doesn't really clash that much with Extravagance. Then for the forbidden cards that come off of your Condemned Witch, I've got the 1 Droplet and 1 Chalice. Now, obviously, if I'm cutting out Starry Night, if I'm cutting out anything else, I can bump up the Droplets. But what I thought was really nice between these two is they're both now searchable. And then off of just the simple combo or just from Condemned Witch, you know what's on Condemned Witch, you get Forbidden Chalice or Droplet, whichever one you want. And then during your opponent's turn, if you've got the dragon in the hand or you get to the dragon with the remaining 4 cards in your hand, you then set up the ability of going into Stell into the dragon, which gives you a pop. And then you've got a negate off of Chalice or Droplet. Because we've gone with the control version, we are going with Triple Gozing. Now this was one that I didn't see a lot of people playing. And when I was thinking about it and looking at it, I was like, Well, if we lock our opponent under barrier statue, they're not really going to be able to go anywhere. But if they go all the way, or go all out of their way to try and deal with the barrier statue, and then you flip a Gozing on them, because your Condemned Witch is going to tag into a light anyway, that's not an issue. And the Gozing is then just going to be able to go, right, okay, even if you get rid of my statue, you still can't summon anything apart from like one attribute. And when you look at Dragon Link go into Romulus, which is a light. They go into Striker, which is a dark. They then got Wyvern Buster, which is a light. They actually play around with a lot of attributes. So if you lock them under a Romulus, they're not going to be able to play. So this gives you another barrier statue. And it doesn't really affect you because you can keep bouncing your dragons back and just popping cards and banishing cards. So it works out really, really nicely. Then moving on, again, there's also when you look at Eldritch Zoo as well, that can really hurt them. So moving on, we then play 2 Starry Night Arrival. I've seen a lot of people play 3 of this. I personally think this card is terrible, but you have to play it. So during your main phase, you can activate one of these effects. Target 1 level 7 light dragon monster you control and return it to the hand. Special summon one level 7 light dragon monster from your hand. You can only use each of the effects once per turn. So again, I don't think this card would be too broken in this deck if it said you could activate each of the following effects, but only once per turn. Because then that will give you, because the dragon isn't a hard once per turn on the pop, it would just then allow you to go return the dragon and then summon the dragon again. And I don't think that would be too broken. Especially when you look at cards that we have in the game right now, that would actually be good for the deck. And then finally we've got the 1 Starry Night Blast. I thought this card was amazing, and then I realised it wasn't a counter trap. So when your opponent activates a card or effect, return 1 level 7 light dragon monster you control to the hand, negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. Only activate 1 Starry Night Blast per turn. But it's not a counter trap, which is why you're only playing it at 1. Again, if you wanted to go more control, you could put in summon limits, you could put in torrential tributes, you could put in pretty much anything, but the whole idea of this deck is to go first, sit on a barrier statue with some back row protecting, and start bouncing the dragon back and forth to start clearing boards off. That's the idea behind it. It works really well when it works. Like when you open up the pieces, when you get to a dragon and a monster that can summon out the dragon, or a card that can summon out the dragon, you're in a very good stead. So like, if you can get a Ties of the Brethren with a Rael, you're in Dreamland, because you go normal summon Rael, Rael get you Balefire, Balefire gets you the dragon, activate Ties of the Brethren, Ties of the Brethren gives you Rael, Estelle, and the barrier statue, and then during your opponent's turn, all from 2 cards, you can then bounce back, use Estelle to tribute off Rael or itself, and then special summon out the dragon will then pop, and not only are they locked, so whatever they try to bring on the board that can out the barrier statue, you bring down the dragon kills it and gets rid of it. And then you've still got 3 more cards to play around with. So that's perfect. The issue is you've got no way, you've got a way of searching the Starry Night, but you've got no way of searching out the Ties of the Brethren, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So that's the full 40 card deck. I'm now going to show you the alternative engine that I'd been playing around with, and I'll explain why I ended up cutting it or not going for it. So the alternative engine that I went with, as I do with most of my decks, because I think it works really nicely, is the Chaos Space engine. So we've got triple Chaos Space, the 1 Black Collapse, the 1 White Wyvern, the 1 Chaos Creator, but also play a Chaos Valkyrie. Now you could bump the Chaos Valkyries up if you wanted to, and completely cut the Chaos Creator. Now the reason this is good is because it's a light fairy, so you can put it back to the bottom of the deck and search you out a dragon when you use Ceremony. It banishes a light or dark from the graveyard. It's level 4. It still fits under the Gozing restriction as well. So it has a bit more synergy with the deck and works out nicely, plus it's searchable. Obviously these 2, you want to be bringing them to the board, tag them out, use their effects to get the other one, and start looping it around with Chaos Space. Now obviously the Chaos Space draw effect does clash with Extravagance, but there's no guarantee you're ever going to open up both, and when you do, then what you want to do is you want to play the Extravagance, draw your cards, activate the Chaos Space, get whatever piece you're missing, and then save the Chaos Space, reset and draw for the next turn. There's no real need to worry or panic about that. What this allowed you to do is it allowed you to control the extra deck a lot more. You would probably then take out Extravagance and put in Prosperity just to help with that consistency. The same rules would apply. You wouldn't worry about the clash between the 2. But the idea behind that would then be that you can use, just on their own, you can use the dragons to link climb into a link 2. You're setting up lights and darks in the graveyard. You're putting lights and darks in the graveyard off of Chaos Space, and that's where the synergy with Rael works, because whatever you discard off of Chaos Space, you don't need to summon these immediately after you search them. So what you could then do, and again this is the issue, is getting Rael to the graveyard, is You'd get discard like the Light Dragon, Rail to the board. You would then need a way of getting Rail off the board. But then what she could do is banish and bring the dragon back. So yes, the dragon is not being summoned from the hand, but if you bring it back to the board, you've seen how many spells and traps we have that literally say bounce the dragon back to your hand. That gives you a way of maintaining your resource and getting back round that way. Now there was a new card that was released on Sunday, which looked really, really cool. It was like a light fairy level 7, and I think it was if you activate a light fairy monster's effect, you can special summon this card from the hand. Unfortunately, it wasn't a quick effect to destroy or banish, but it's really cool. I'm going to quickly pull it up now. Just give me 2 seconds. So it was called Protector Spirit Legiatha. It was a level 7 light fairy, so it's got half of the archetype, right? Only use this card's first and second event once per turn. So if a fairy monster you control activates this effect, special summon this card from the hand. 2, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and 1 attack position monster you control. Banish the first target, and if you do, change the second target to defense. And then 3rd, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 monster on the field. It cannot be destroyed by battle during this turn. So you can kind of see the little bits of synergy it would actually have with the deck and work out quite nicely. There's also another dragon that we get as well in Lightning Overdrive, but I don't think it's that great for the deck. So moving on to the extra deck, I'm not going to show you a full 15 card extra deck because with Extravagance, you'll be bumping some of these cards up, but I'll go through the kind of examples you can have. So I've gone with Fairy Yugioh, purely because she's a light, she's a fairy, and I detach material to draw a card. Simple as that. I'm not going to rely on it too heavily. I wouldn't put it at 3 in an Extravagance build, but it's something you can look at, and because it can definitely get rid of the barrier statue for you, which is really, really important. Abyss Dweller, just for generic rank 4, alongside Tornado Dragon, again, generic rank 4. Augusta Emerald, generic rank 4. But then we get into the Link monsters, not Link monsters, sorry, the XYZs are actually going to be quite useful for you in this deck. And you've got Exciton Knight, just a rank 4 board wipe, get rid of your barrier statue. Light Dragon Agnista, again, 2 level 4 monsters, lights, so you can use the barrier statue, a target and pop, which is great, and what all good light decks want right now is, of course, Utopia, with Utopia the Lightning, but you can, if you wanted to, put in Double or Nothing. I just don't really have good luck with it. Another option that I would actually advise putting in here is Utopia Prime. Now, I'm pretty sure, let me just double check it while I've got it to my side, and there is a reason that we'll be building this up. But the idea is that off of Utopia, you want to try and build up as many materials as you possibly can. So you'd go into Prime, and as long as it can be used as XYZ material, you would then go into Zeus. And Zeus is probably your best card from the extra deck. Considering a Zeus would probably cost you the same amount as the entire deck of Starry Nights, you might want to think about it second before you do that. But again, the idea is that you can build up into Zeus. This is where Prosperity will be better than Extravagance, because unless you own 3 Zeus, that's not going to happen. But the idea is you can then go Utopia into Prime. She's then got 4 materials, go into Zeus, and they're all lights. So you can do this under Barrier Statue. So even if your opponent's like, right, okay, I can't out the Barrier Statue turn 1, but I might be able to out it turn 2. You go, that's fine. I'll use all my monsters, leave the Barrier Statue on board, and then if at any point it becomes a threat, I can then use Zeus to clear the board, even get rid of the Barrier Statue for you, but still clearing your board twice per turn. Lambda, generic, link to light, plus you're playing Gamma, so if you can make Gamma consistently live, why not? And then of course you've got your Cypher Lord Omega. Again, if you're under the barrier statue, you can still, well, you can still use Gamma and Gamma and Driver. You'd need the Lambda first, but that could then lead you into Omega. You could then play any level 8 monster you wanted to. Again, that is entirely up to you and your personal play style and personal preference. But it works really, really nicely. Like I said, the remaining spots in the extra deck pretty much become whether you're playing the barrier statue version or not. If you're not, you can put in more rank 4s. You could, like I said, put in Double or Nothing and go into Prime. Not Prime, sorry. Go into Double or Nothing and then go Utopia for like a 10k game. That's the only way you're going to pretty much be able to OTK under the abilities. I just haven't had really good luck with the barrier statues in the past. Not barrier statues, sorry. With the Double or Nothing in the past. I always open it. It's like, I don't want you in my hand. And again, that will then come down to whether you're playing Prosperity or Extravagance. But I hope this deck has been a little bit different from what you've seen out there. I hope this has now been able to provide you with information on what the deck does, a little bit in more depth of why the deck is built the way it is, and also kind of gone over what the deck can offer in your playstyle. Now, I wouldn't say it's massively competitive, but it does have that borderline of stun and control with interruption. So if you do get the effects off, if your opponent definitely won't know what this deck is, what this deck does during your first week or so of playing it. So this is definitely a good time to trial it out. But what you're basically saying to your opponent is, you know, I'm going to play Starry Nights. You're not going to know what they're going to do, but I'm also going to lock you under a barrier statue. We've all seen how good a barrier statue can be. Like, you look at the wind barrier statue. Now, yes, you're not putting a spell in the graveyard that basically says you can't destroy this card by battle, but what you are doing is you are saying to your opponent, right, try and destroy it by battle, and if you ever feel like, or if I ever feel like I'm in danger of it being destroyed by battle and I don't want it to, I can then bring down the Starry Night Dragon, and the Starry Night Dragon is pretty much going to end your turn right there and then. So, like I said, it's a fun deck. It's not tier 0. It's not going to be the next main meta deck. It does need a lot more support. It is a little bit slow, and like I said, straight away you can see the glaring issues with some of the text and some of the ways the cards are worded, but still a fun deck, still looks awesome, and if you can pick it up for like 40 quid or less, I would definitely do it, because it's definitely a fun deck if you like lights, if you like fairies, if you like constellas, you like angels, you like the satellas as well. But for now, as absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. I will try and do a test down video for you, but like I said, because it's a control deck, it's not really like boom, 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 combo heavy. It's more like, okay, what do I do if I don't get Ties of the Brethren? How do I play from there? And pretty much from that point, you kind of want to hope you've got a Starry Night, or you've got a Rael, or you've just got plays to move further forward that way. But as absolutely always, guys, stay safe and happy dueling.